What does a steady green light signal from air traffic control tower, ATC control tower, mean when in flight? Reading that question over exactly as it's written. What does a steady green light signal from an ATC control tower mean when in flight? Answer: clear to land, clear to land, cleared to land. To act as a pilot in command of an aircraft carrying passengers, a pilot must show by logbook endorsement the satisfactory completion of flight review or completion of pilot proficiency check within the preceding. Answer: 24 months, 24 calendar months, 24 calendar months. The common heading indicator requires periodic adjustment. It is important to check its indications frequently against the answer: magnetic compass, magnetic compass, magnetic compass. Maneuvering speed is answer: not marked on the airspeed indicator, not marked on the airspeed indicator, not marked on the airspeed indicator. Most effective method of scanning for other aircraft for collision avoidance during nighttime hours is to answer: peripheral vision by scanning small sectors and utilizing off-center viewing. Peripheral vision by scanning small sectors and utilizing off-center viewing. Cause. Answer: smoke and dust to be trapped to the surface. Smoke and dust to be trapped to the surface. Smoke and dust to be trapped to the surface. Figures are including feet AGL, but not including 18,000 feet MS aircraft generating the turbine. Aviation routine weather reports, METARs, contain. Answer: wind, visibility, precipitation, cloud coverage, temperature, and altimeter settings. Wind, visibility, precipitation, cloud coverage, temperature, and altimeter setting. Each person holds a pilot certificate or a medical certificate shall present it for inspection upon the request of any. Answer: local law enforcement officer, local law enforcement officer, local law enforcement officer. While operating under basic med as a pilot in command, the aircraft. Answer: must be limited to 6 seats and not certified for more than 6,000 pounds. Basic med. Answer: must be limited to 6 seats and not certified for more than 6,000 pounds. When may hazardous wind shear conversion frontal zone once maximum power 900 feet with a temperature of 3683 miles per hour, 183 miles per hour, 183 miles per hour. What clouds have the greatest turbulence? Answer: cumulonimbus, cumulonimbus, cumulonimbus. The FAA advisory circulars containing subject matter specific related to air traffic control and general operations is issued under which subject number? Answer: 90. The FAA advisory circulars containing subject matter specifically related to air traffic control and general operations are issued under subject number 90, 90, 90. Air traffic control 90. Static pressure, also known as ambient pressure, is. Answer: always present whether an aircraft is moving or at rest. Always present whether an aircraft is moving or at rest. The only instrument that provides instantaneous direct indication of airplane's pitch and bank altitude is the attitude indicator. Attitude indicator. An airplane's pitch and bank attitude is represented by the attitude indicator. What is necessary distance required for takeoff to clear a 50-foot obstacle outside ambient air temperature standard, pressure, altitude, sea level, takeoff weight 2,700 pounds, head component, calm 1,400 feet. Answer 1,400 feet. Uncontrolled airspace is Class G airspace. To operate in Class G airspace, the night visibility requirements for flight at 3,000 feet AGL but below 10,000 feet MSL is answer 3 miles, 3 miles, 3 miles. What steps must be taken when flying with electronic flight instruments, glass cockpit, to ensure a safe flight? Regularly scan both inside and outside the aircraft. Use all. What wind is forecast for AMA 12,000 feet? Refer to Figure 17. What wind is forecast for AMA at 12,000 feet? Answer 260 degrees, true at 25 knots. 260 degrees, true at 25 knots. The air-fuel ratio is a measurement of answer the ratio of weight of air to the weight of fuel in the mixture. The ratio of weight of air to the weight of fuel in the mixture. Pilots are encouraged to turn on their landing lights when operating below 10,000 feet day or night, and when operating within answer 10 miles of any airport, 10 miles of any airport, 10 miles of any airport. While operating in regions known as dust devils, such as Southwest U.S., what is recommended action a pilot should take when one is detected during a flight operation at low altitudes? Answer: recognize and avoid the dust devil. Be prepared to take evasive action if necessary. Recognize and avoid the dust devil, and be prepared to take evasive action if necessary. Refer to Figure 6.4, where on the airport is represent. Except in Alaska, during what time period should lightened position lights be displayed on an aircraft? Answer: sunset to sunrise, sunset to sunrise, sunset to sunrise. So in the except for Alaska, time period sunset to sunrise. Determine the total distance required to land over a 50-foot obstacle. Using refer to Figure 3.8. Determine the total distance required over a 50-foot obstacle. 5,000 feet. Wind or pressure, altitude 5,000 feet. Headwind 8 knots. Temperature 41 degrees Fahrenheit. Runway hard surface. Answer 956, 956, 956. A disconnected ground wire from a magneto to the ignition switch. Answer: could allow engine to continue to run after the ignition switch is turned off. Could allow the engine to continue to run after the ignition switch is turned off. What is the status of the front that extends from Nebraska through the Upper Peninsula of Michigan? Answer: cold, cold, cold. How is engine operation controlled on an engine equipped with constant speed propeller? Answer: the throttle controls power output as registered on the manifold pressure gauge, and the propeller controls regulates engine RPM. When the term light and variable is used in reference to wind aloft forecast, the coded group and wind speed is 9,900 and less than 5 knots. 9,900 and less than 5 knots. Pilot convicted of manufacture or distribution of drugs might expect. Answer: suspension or revocation of any certificate, rating, or authorization. Suspension or revocation of any certificate, rating, or authorization. No person may operate an airplane with within Class D airspace at night under special VFR unless the answer: airplane is equipped with instrument flight. Airplane is equipped with instrument flight. For private pilot operations, a first-class medical certificate issued to a 23-year-old pilot on October 21st this year will expire at midnight on. Answer: October 31st, 5 years later. October 31st, 5 years later. With response to the certification of airmen, which are categories of aircraft. Certifications of airmen, categories of aircraft. Airplane, rotorcraft, glider, lighter than air. Safety belts are required to be properly secured about which persons in an aircraft and when. Answer: passengers during takeoff, taxi, takeoff, and landing only. Passengers during taxi, takeoff, and landing only. A pilot should be able to overcome the symptoms or avoid occurrence of hyperventilation by. Answer: slowing breathing rate, slowing the breathing rate, breathing into a bag, and talking out loud. Slowing the breathing rate, breathing into a bag, and talking out loud. What is the best way to slow a plane down during hydroplaning? Answer: aerodynamic braking. Aerodynamic braking, aerodynamic braking. An aircraft leaving ground effect during takeoff will. Answer: experience an increase in induced drag and decrease in performance. Experience an increase in induced drag and decrease in performance. An ATC radar facility issues the following advisory to a pilot flying on heading of 090, 90 degrees. Traffic 3 o'clock, 2 miles westbound. Where should the pilot look for the traffic? So if you're flying on heading of 90 degrees, you're pointing east. 3 o'clock would be your 90 degrees is your 12. 3 o'clock would be 180, adding another 90. So south. Answer: south, south, south. If an in-flight emergency requires immediate action, the pilot in command may. Answer: deviate from rule of 14 CFR Part 91 to extent required to meet that emergency. May deviate from any rule of 14 CFR Part 91 to the extent required to meet that emergency. A runway VASI system provides visual descent information to the runway. Visual descent information to the runway. Answer: visual descent information to the runway. Which VFR cruising altitude is acceptable for a flight on a Victor airway within Magnetic course 175 degrees. The terrain is less than 1,000 feet. Answer 5,500, 5,500, 5,500. Left turning tendency of an airplane caused by P factor is the result of answer. Propeller blade descending on the right, producing more thrust than the ascending blade on the left. Propeller blade descending on the right, producing more thrust than the ascending blade on the left. When requesting weather information for the following morning, a pilot should request answer an outlook brief, outlook brief, outlook brief. Following morning, outlook brief. How long does airworthiness certificate of an aircraft remain valid? As long as the aircraft is maintained and operated as required by the Federal Aviation Regulation. No person may operate an aircraft in acrobatic flight when visibility is less than answer 3 miles, 3 miles, 3 miles. No acrobatic flight. Visibility less than 3 miles. Third class medical certificate issued to a 51-year-old pilot May 3rd this year to exercise privileges. The private pilot certificate medical certificate will be valid until midnight on May 31st, 2 years later. May 31st, 2 years later. Answer May 31st, 2 years later. The altimeter indicates, refer to figure 3. Altimeter 2 indicates answer 14,500, 14,500, 14,500. What is density altitude? Answer the pressure altitude corrected for non-standard temperature. Pilot can expect a wind shear zone and a temperature inversion whenever the wind speed is 2,000 to 4,000 feet above the surface is at least answer 25 knots, 25 knots, 25 knots. Refer to figure 82 based upon the altitude indicated by altimeter. Number 3, which course direction is appropriate for VFR cruising altitude? Answer 80 magnetic, 80 magnetic, 80 magnetic. No person may operate an aircraft in formation flight. Answer except by prior arrangements with the pilot in command of each aircraft. Except by prior arrangement with the pilot in command of each aircraft. What is the main operating principle of a float type carburetor? Answer low pressure in the venturi of the carburetor forces fuel in low pressure in the venturi of the carburetor forces fuel to flow through the main fuel jet and mix with intake air. If an airplane weighs 4,500, what approximate weight would the airplane structure be required to support during 45-degree bank turn while maintaining altitude? 6,750 pounds. Answer 6,750 pounds. Which light signal from the control tower clears a pilot to taxi? Answer flashing green, flashing green, flashing green. When exiting the runway, what is the purpose of runway exit sign? Answer indicates designation and direction of exit taxiway from runway. Indicates designation and direction of exit taxiway from runway. The layers of the atmosphere beginning at the Earth's surface are answer troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere. TSM. Troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere. The term angle of attack is defined as the angle Answer: between the wing chord line and relative wind. Wing chord line and relative wind. With regard to carburetor ice, float type carburetor system in comparison to a fuel injection system are generally considered to be: answer: more susceptible to ice. More susceptible to ice. Float: more susceptible. According to wind depiction chart, for the figure 18, according to the wind depiction chart, weather for a flight from southern Michigan to northern Indiana is ceilings. Answer: greater than 3,000 feet. Visibility: greater than 5 miles. Greater than 3,000 feet. Visibility: greater than 5 miles. Who has the final authority to accept or decline any land and hold short clearance? Answer: pilot in command, pilot in command, pilot in command. Which operation would be described as preventive maintenance? Answer: servicing landing gear, wheel bearings. Servicing landing gear, wheel bearings. Determine the total distance required to land. Outside ambient temperature, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Pressure, altitude, 18,000 feet. Weight, 2,600 pounds. Headwind component, 5 knots or 20 knots. Obstacle, 50 feet. Answer: 1,400, 1,400, 1,400. Each recreational or private pilot is required to have: answer: biannual flight review, biannual flight review, biannual flight review. Thunderstorms may contain: answer: turbulence, icing, hailstone, and lightning. Turbulence, icing, hailstone, and lightning. The acute angle A is the angle of: answer: attack, attack, attack. Angle of attack. When an ATC clearance has been obtained, no pilot in command may deviate from that clearance unless that pilot obtains an amended clearance. The one exception to this regulation is: answer: an emergency, an emergency, an emergency. When operating under basic med, where do you need to retain a copy of your comprehensive medical examination checklist? When operating under basic med, where do you need to retain a copy of your comprehensive medical examination check? CMEC. In your logbook. Paper, electric. In your logbook. The correct method of stating 10,500 feet MSL to ATC is 10,500. How's the wing twisted on the most training airplanes to increase controllability at low speed? The wing is twisted to a higher AOA and the using concept. The wing is twisted to a higher AOA at the wing root. Clouds are divided into 4 families according to their: answer: height range, height range, height range. Which basic flight maneuvers increase the load factor of an airplane compared to straight and level flight? Answer: turns, turns, turns. What does the red line on the airspeed indicator represent? Answer: never exceed, never exceed speed, never exceed speed, never exceed speed. Determine the density altitude of these conditions. Altimeter 29.25. Air runway temperature 81 degrees Fahrenheit. Airport elevation 5,250 feet. Answer: 8,500, 8,500, 8,500. What is the maximum flaps extended speed? Refer to figure 4. What is the maximum flaps extended speed? Answer: 100 knots, 100 knots, 100 knots. What is the minimum visibility for a pilot to receive in land and hold short clearance? 3 statute miles, 3 statute miles, 3 statute miles. The variation of solar radiation on the Earth's surface creates answer change in weather, changes in weather, changes in weather. Maintenance records show the last transponder inspection was performed September 1st, 2014. The next inspection will be due no later than September 30th, 2016, September 30th, 2016, September 30th, 2016. Which wind condition would be most critical when taxiing a nose wheel equipped high wing airplane? Answer: quartering tailwind, quartering tailwind, quartering tailwind. If an airplane is loaded with the center of gravity forward of the allowable range, answer: the pilot needs to use more back pressure on the elevator to hold the nose up. Pilot needs to use more back pressure on the elevator to hold the nose up. At the beginning of a turn from northerly heading, answer: the compass will show a turn in the opposite direction. Compass will show a turn in the opposite direction. On the wind triangle, refer to figure 6.8. On the wind triangle, the line from point C to B represents answer: ground speed and true course, ground speed and true course, ground speed and true course. It's a full-on triangle. Refer to figure 22. Determine the magnetic heading for a flight from St. Mary's Airport, Area 4 to Priest River Airport, Area 1. The wind is from 340 degrees at 10 knots. True airspeed is 90 knots. Answer: 329 degrees, 329 degrees, 329 degrees. Position navigation lights on an aircraft are red. Answer: red for left wingtip, green for right wingtip, white for tail. When flying a stabilized approach at a constant glide angle, how should the aiming point appear to the pilot? Answer: the aiming position does not appear to move. The aiming position does not appear to move. What does the positive indication tell you on an ammeter? Answer: the charging rate of the battery, the charging rate of the battery, the charging rate of the battery. Who is responsible for determining whether a pilot is fit to fly a particular flight, even though he or she holds a current medical certificate? Answer: the pilot, the pilot, the pilot. An airplane and a glider are on a head-on collision course. What should each pilot do? Answer: both pilots should give the right of way. Both pilots should give the right of way. If you are unsure whether a medication might prevent you from flying, contact answer: an aviation medical examiner, aviation medical examiner, and aviation medical examiner. The numbers 8 and 26 on approach ends of the runway indicate the runway is oriented approximately 80 degrees. Answer: 80 degrees and 260 degrees magnetic, 80 degrees and 260 degrees magnetic. Generally speaking, the use of carburetor heat tends to answer: decrease engine performance, decrease engine performance, decrease engine performance. What is the purpose of taxiway directional sign? Answer: indicates designation and direction of taxiway leading out of an intersection. indicates designation and direction of taxiway leading out of an intersection. Which line should you cross when exiting the runway? Answer: both solid and striped lines, both solid and striped lines, both solid and striped lines. VFR approaches to land at night should be accomplished. Answer: same as during the day, same as during the day, same as during daytime. Current method of stating the correct method of stating 4,500 feet MSL to ATC is 4,500. The airworthiness of an aircraft can be determined by a pre-flight inspection and a answer: review of maintenance records, review of the maintenance records. Basic radar services in the terminal radar program is best described as safety alerts, advisories, and limited vectoring for VFR aircraft. Safety alerts, traffic advisories, and limited vectoring for VFR aircraft. For figure 4, which markings identifies the never exceed speed? Answer: the red line, the red radial line, the red radial line. For figure 72, what would happen if the airplane what would happen to the airplane if it experienced a load factor of 2 Gs at 70 knots? Answer: it will stall, it will stall, it will stall. What values are used for winds aloft forecast? Answer: true direction and knots, true direction and knots, true direction and knots. No person may take off or land an aircraft under basic VFR at an airport that lies within Class D airspace unless the answer: ground visibility at the airport is at least 3 miles. Ground visibility at the airport is at least 3 miles. Refer to figure 15. If in the TAF and for KMEM, what does SHRA stand for? Answer: rain showers, rain showers, rain showers. Showers, rain. Aviation. What must a pilot who deviates from regulation during an emergency send? When must a pilot who deviates from regulation during an emergency send a written report of the deviation to the administration? Answer: upon request, upon request, upon request. Which initial action should a pilot take prior to entering Class C airspace? Answer: contact approach controller on appropriate frequency. Contact approach controller on appropriate frequency. Contact approach controller on appropriate frequency. For a given power setting with a constant speed, variable pitch propeller, low pitch results in high RPM. Answer: low pitch results in high RPM. Using turn and slip indicator, how do you know that you are in a coordinated turn? Answer: centering ball results in a coordinated turn. Centering ball results in a coordinated turn. Feet, 19 feet, 19 feet. A heavier airplane, due to increased load factor, will stall at. Answer: higher airspeed, higher airspeed, higher airspeed. How should the 500-pound weight be shifted to balance on a plane fulcrum How does the weight turbulence vortex circulate around each wingtip? Answer: outward, upward, and around each wingtip. Outward, upward, and around each wingtip. What prior period of time must be hospitalized before an injury may be defined by the NTCB as a serious injury? 48 hours, commencing within 7 days after the date of the injury. 48 hours, commencing within 7 days after the injury. How should ailerons be positioned when landing in a crosswind? When landing in a crosswind, ailerons up into the wind. Ailerons up into the wind. Refer to figure 8. Determine if the density altitude of these conditions, altimeter setting 30.30. Okay, determine the density altitude of these conditions. Altimeter setting 30.30, runway temperature plus 25 degrees Fahrenheit, airport elevation 3,894 MSL. Answer: 2,200 MSL, 2,200 MSL. Yeah. The terrain elevation is 1,295 feet MSL. What is the height above ground level at the base of the ceiling? Answer: 505 feet AGL, 505 feet AGL, 505 feet AGL. Refer to figure 14. The terrain elevation is 1,295 feet MSL. What is the height above ground level at the base of the ceiling? 505 feet MSL, 505 feet MSL, 505 feet MSL. For figure 72, while flying in cruise at 120 miles per hour, the airplane experiences a 15 foot per second gust, or 15 FPS gust. What load factor would this apply to the airplane? While flying in a cruise at 120 miles per hour, the airplane experiences a plus 15 FPS gust. What load factor would this apply to the airplane? Answer: 2G, 2G, 2G. What Unicom frequency would you use to contact Mercer, CO, Regional, HCE? 122.8 megahertz, 122.8 megahertz, 122.8 megahertz. Refer to figure 21, area 3. What Unicom frequency would you use to contact Mercer, CO Regional, HCE? 122.8, 102.8 megahertz, 122.8 megahertz. Altimeter setting is the value to which the barometric pressure scale of the altimeter setting is the value in which the barometric pressure scale of the altimeter is set so the altimeter indicates true altitude at field elevation. Answer: true altitude at field elevation. The amount of excess load that can be imposed on the wing of an airplane depends upon the answer: speed of the airplane, speed of the airplane, speed of the airplane. An example of a type of aircraft would be DC-7, Cessna 172, and F-16. Refer to figure 26, area 4. The CTAF Unicom frequency for Jamestown Airport is 123 megahertz, 123 megahertz, 123 megahertz. Engine oil temperature and cylinder head temperature gauges have exceeded their normal operating range. The pilot may have been operating with answer: too much power and with a mixture set too lean. Too much power, wake turbulence by maneuvering of an alternator over a generator in an airplane engine. What is one of the advantages of an alternator over a generator in an airplane engine? Answer: the electric output of an alternator is more constant throughout a wide range of engine speeds. The electric output of an alternator is more constant throughout a wide range of engine speeds. For figure 40, what is the approximate ground roll distance necessary for takeoff under the following conditions? Outside ambient air, OAT, 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Pressure altitude, 4,000 feet. Takeoff weight, 2,700 pounds. Headwind component, calm. Answer: 1,400 feet, 1,400 feet, 1,400 feet. Except when necessary for takeoff or landing, what is the minimum safe altitude for a pilot to operate an aircraft anywhere? Answer: an altitude allowing for a power unit fails. If a power unit fails in emergency landing without due hazards to persons or property on the surface. Answer: an altitude allowing if power unit fails, an emergency landing without undue hazard to persons or property on the surface. Low level temperature turbulence can occur and icing can become hazardous. In which type of fog? Answer: steam fog, steam fog, steam fog. For the figure 38, determine the approximate landing ground roll distance. Pressure altitude 1,250 feet. Headwind 8 knots. Temperature standard. Answer: 366 feet, 366 feet, 366 feet. Temperature inversion would most likely result in which weather condition? Answer: an increase in temperature as altitude is increased. An increase in temperature as altitude is increased. What should a pilot state initially when telephoning a weather briefing facility for pre-flight weather information? Answer: identify themselves as the pilot. Identify themselves as a pilot. Identify themselves as a pilot. One in-flight condition necessary for structural icing to form is? Answer: visible moisture, visible moisture, visible moisture. Refer to figure 48. According to the airport diagram, which statement is true? Answer: takeoff must be started position A on runway 12 and landing portion of the runway begins at position B. Takeoffs may be started at position A on the runway 12 and landing portion of this runway begins at position B. What is indicated when a current connective segment forecasts thunderstorms? Answer: thunderstorms obscured by massive cloud layers. Thunderstorms obscured by massive cloud layers. Automatic Terminal Information Services, ATS, is continuous broadcast of recorded information concerning. Answer: non-information is selected areas, non-control information in selected high-activity terminal areas. What is one of the benefits for pilots flying an airplane for electronic flight instruments and moving back map navigation? What is one of the benefits for pilots flying an airplane with electronic flight instruments and moving map navigations class cockpit? Answer: increased situational awareness, increased situational awareness, increased situational awareness. Inform the public the magnetic compass is caused by. Answer: device, error of previous statement, checklist. What are the six complications? Stress, alcohol, fatigue, emotion. Authorized is. Answer: 200 knots, 200 knots. Thunderstorms and 3/4 inch or greater in diameter. How does frost affect the ballistic surface of an airplane on takeoff? Answer: frost may prevent the airplane from becoming airborne at normal takeoff speed. Frost may prevent the airplane from becoming required from VFR operations in Class G airspace, mild visibility, and clear clouds. Individual magnetos, separate sets of wires and spark plugs. Answer: to increase the run value of student pods. Which aircraft has other aircraft? Aircraft towing other aircraft. You have to have a list. It goes control radar service is terminated. What should the trainer be set to? Answer: code 1200, code 1200, code 1200. Certificate with appropriate log and special for the figure 22, area 1, and legend 1, mental US form A, and current medical certificate documentation acceptable to the FAA. For the figure 27 degrees, 34 latitude. Restricted area. And with controlling agency's authorization, with the controlling agency's authorization. Refer to answer: sky clear and over. Change in temperature. 1,500 feet, 9,500 feet, with flying at a high altitude. Which action can adjust the airplane's weight to match first cost to complete when flying from clouds operations airway figure 50 runway 18 10:36 first direct in airport area 1 and you will be flying you might set flight airport area 5. Your flight passes over Hampton. Section figures are not scale in print or form. Use nautical for time of any alcohol consumption, hours of any alcohol consumption. 18 advises traffic 2 o'clock. Enter ground track, ground track, ground track. Status miles, 3 status miles, 3 status miles. Alternate light signal and all red and green light signal directed. One is 20.22 at standard temperature. Answer: 2,991 feet MSL, 2,991 feet MSL. A lack of orientation with regard to the position, altitude, or movement orientation, spatial orientation. Cold air generally contains been tested is a category of aircraft. Certification of aircraft, category of aircraft. Speed would be